Hello and welcome to Wisdom Bites. Hope you're well. Thank you once again for joining us. Very much appreciated. Now, in today's video, we're going to be alerting everyone here at the Wisdom Bites community to the dangers that are just around the corner. So in today's video, I'm going to alert everyone of the dangerous seas coming in the very short term, in the next 7 to 10 days possibly. So in today's video, I'm going to show you the Bitcoin investor tool, which I've shown you many times before, which is a very good indicator exactly where we are in the cycle for Bitcoin this time around. We'll also look at the bearish divergence on the RSI that's appearing on the Bitcoin chart. And I'll also be giving you one new tip for the Wisdom Bites community to show you exactly why this is an amazing opportunity to get in now while we're just breaking through on this cup and handle chart pattern, and why this is a 50x opportunity. If that sounds interesting, then without further ado, let's get cracking. But as always, a polite reminder of the disclaimer that this video and all our videos are actually for educational purposes only. Please do your wider research before making any investment decisions. So with that out of the way, get your Snickers bars and a cup of tea and let's get cracking straight away. Okay, I'm going to start off with the pivots that I've been showing you in the many previous videos and how incredibly accurate they have been in predicting the price targets that we've had. So in January, I gave you the 3 price targets. The first one was the R1 line at 40,000. And as we were making the video, we were coming up to this candle here. And I said at the time that we're very highly likely to meet the R2 line. The target here was 48,000, and that we will more than likely, with a high degree of probability, meet the R3 line before the end of the month. And this line was at $55,000. And as you can see, we had this upward ascending wedge that the price was falling into. And just yesterday, we broke above this ascending wedge and then came back and used it as support. If we look at this now closely, you'll see exactly what's happened. So this is the wedge on the daily candle. As you can see, the price was moving in this arena, and this is a bearish chart pattern. But because Bitcoin has been so strong in its upward ascendancy that a lot of these wedges have actually broken to the upside. So there was still a very high chance that it was going to break to the upside. But this is, generally speaking, a bearish pattern. But obviously now that it's broken to the upside, it's used this previous resistance as support by this candle here. It is now very, very highly likely that we're going to move up to this R3 line, which is the $55,000 mark. So I'm very confident that we're going to meet this target very, very shortly, certainly before the end of February. The question really is, what's going to happen afterwards? Are we going to go to the R4 line? Highly unlikely, because when I show you this is the Bitcoin investor tool that I've been showing you over the last many videos, and how we're coming very, very close to this red line here. The reason why this is significant is actually embedded in the history of this chart. Let me show you. Let me just get rid of these 2 lines that we made earlier on. So as you can see here quite clearly, we're coming very close to this red line here. And I've mentioned before that as soon as we come to this red line, it is very highly probable that we're going to be having a major correction. The reason for that premise is based on, historically, if you go back, you'll see quite clearly in the last bull market, when we came up to this, look what happened. The first time we touched this over here, we had a 20% correction the first time. The second time we came up to this line, we had a 40% correction. The third time we came up to this, we actually broke through, but then still had a correction of around 30%. So this line, you can see quite clearly, is very, very significant. We've had 3 corrections just in the last bull market, varying from 20%, 40% and 30%. Previously, if we look back in history, so this was the last bull cycle, but if we go further back on this BLX chart, you can see quite clearly that even in the one before the bull market, when we broke through, we had another correction here. This was only a minor one, and this was around about a 22% correction. However, the first bull market, we came across this and actually hung around for a while. We didn't really have much of a correction. Maybe this could be deemed a correction from here down to there of about 24%, but you can see that was a very difficult correction to predict, because it just went down for the one day and came back straight away. So this was like a flash crash, really, more than anything else. However, the important thing to take away from this is that we can expect, when we come up to this red line here, currently, we can expect, on the whole, a high degree of probability that we're going to have a correction here. And this line is lying at currently around the 57,000 mark. If this price moves slowly towards it, then this line will move further up. So it could go up to 58 or even 59,000. So I just want everyone to be alert and aware that whatever decision you want to make here, maybe you want to take 10% out and try to buy back at a lower price. That's up to you what you want to do. This is not financial advice. I'm just alerting everybody here at the Wisdom Bites community that we are coming to a very possible correction at the 58,000 mark. The other thing that we really need to know is that once we get past the red line, let's say we've had a few corrections, but once it gets past the red line, this is what we really, in the bigger picture, the bigger scheme of things, need to know, is that once we get above this red line, as history has actually proved time and time again, that once it goes above the red line, we are really very, very close to the top of the market. So here, once we broke through from this point to the top of the market there, that was 45 days. So about 5-6 weeks. Between 5 and 6 weeks, in the last bull market, we topped out from the breakage of this red line. The previous bull market to that, once we broke through here, as you can see, this was a clear breakthrough here. That was 28 days, so within 1 month. So again, another 4 weeks. The one previous to that, once we broke through eventually here, that was a question of 23 days, so just over 3 weeks. So this is very, very significant that once you see this line here breached, once we go above it, we are actually in the last month to 6 weeks of the top of the bull market. And the fact that we're coming up to this red line tells you that we are now in the parabolic phase of this bull market. So the main thing to take away from this is just keep an eye on this red line, and that when we come to this red line, we may have a major correction. And my evidence for that is by looking at the Bitcoin miners and what they did when they came up to this red line. This is Marathon Patent Group, one of the North American Bitcoin miners. And look what happened. When we came up to this red line here, we got a correction. This was approximately 32%. This is Riot Blockchain, another North American big miner of Bitcoin. Again, when we came to this red line here, quite clearly we had another correction here. This time not very big, 21%. This is Hive Blockchain, the miner of Ethereum. And once again, as soon as we came up to this, see the rush up? All of them had a rush up to the red line, just like we're having with Bitcoin. And look what happened here. Quite a major correction on this one. And if we measure the correction here, this was 38%. So very strong, high probability that Bitcoin is going to correct over here. If it doesn't correct, well, that's what happens with Bitcoin. Anything can happen. So this is obviously not financial advice. I just want to alert my subscribers that there is a possibility, a high degree of probability that we're going to have a correction as soon as the price hits the red line here around the 57.58 mark. We're going to meet our $55,000 target that we can see from the pivots that I've just shown you, and then 2,000 or 3,000 after that, this is where we can expect a major correction. And if we look at the RSI, that gives another clue as to why that is possible and probable. This is the daily chart, and you can see quite clearly that we're forming a bearish divergence here. And this really means that the price is about to top off. It may go a little bit further up before it does that. More than likely, it does tend to do that. And on the weekly chart, we can see the same thing happening here. The weekly chart is also showing a bearish divergence. So correction on its way with Bitcoin. And obviously as Bitcoin comes down, everything else comes down with it as well. But we'll just have to wait and see. The main thing is to be aware that these things are about to happen. So that's basically in the short term, 7 to 10 days. As soon as the price hits that red line, that can happen in the next 7 to 10 days, even earlier or even later. It doesn't really matter. The main thing is to recognize that that's about to happen. Obviously, the longer term picture is still intact. We're on our way to this target here. And that is the main thing we must keep in mind. It doesn't really matter what happens here. A correction, 2 corrections, 3 corrections, doesn't matter. We're on our way to this target around here. Many people still asking whether it's a good time to get on board the Bitcoin train. Well, when we know that Bitcoin is on its way to 300,000, to be honest with you, any time along that journey is a good time to get on board. But I tend to use this angled volume profile. This quite clearly tells you when is a good time to get on board. So as I've shown you in the past, whenever the price falls below this angled volume profile, as you can see down here, this was a great time to move in recently. Yes, the price can go from here where it is to 57, 58,000 where there is a possible correction on its way. So you can make a little bit there, but then you need to get out there and wait for the price to come back down. So that's always a risky thing to do. Or you can wait and have the patience to wait for the price to fall below this angled volume profile and then buy back at that opportune time. Because history tells us that whenever you buy below this angled volume profile during a bull market, you can see quite clearly here would have been a fantastic time to buy, here would have been a fantastic time to buy, etc. If you go through history, you'll realize that whenever you buy below the angled volume profile is a great time to actually get in with a very good amount of upside to the price. So let's wait and see. This is a very good indicator to do that. And the way you get the angled volume profile is if you click on the indicators and you type in angled, you'll get that coming up straight away, and you just click on that and you'll get this angled volume profile. If you want to support the channel, then please click on any of my videos, and then below the videos you'll find a box called Show More, which gives you a description box, and in that description box is the affiliate link with Etoro that I have. So I partner up with Etoro because that's the main exchange I use for all my investments. These are the reasons why I tend to use Etoro. It's a very simple exchange to use in terms of depositing money and withdrawing the money, as well as trading if that's what you want to do, as well as for long-term investing, which is what I tend to do. So if you want to support the channel, please click on the partnership link, and then what you'll do is you'll get this box here, and then you can basically put your username, email and password and just fill in the form there. If you like any of my videos and you find value in them, then please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. If you are one of my very early subscribers, you'll know that I showed you this Puel multiple around about 12 months ago when the price was around in the green. And I said at the time that as soon as the price moves into the green arena, that is always a great time to buy, because historically, as you can see, that was the catalyst for moving towards the bull market. This was a great time to have bought in 2020. And now we're up to this point here. So if we look to the left of that, where we are, this is the point where we were in the cycle. And that's around about the June, July mark here. And as you can see, from this point to the top of the market, we can expect quite a large rise, because this is the last bull market top at 20,000, and 5-6 months before, let's take it from July, the growth from there for Bitcoin was around 7 times the price that it was 6 months earlier. The bull market previous to the 2017 market was the 2013 blow off top here, and 6 months before that blow off top, around this time here in July, gave us an increase in the price of around about 16 times. So we know that if we are 6 months away currently with Bitcoin here, anywhere between 7 times to 16 times, let's take a conservative figure and say that the previous bull market, where the market grew by 7 times, is what will be replicated here. And please remember that the institutions are all coming on board, and that will push the price quite high. So even 7 times may prove to be so 7 times from its current price here would give us around about a price of around $400,000. And that's not very far from our original target of $300,000. So everything seems to fit in that we're around about 5, 6, 7 months away from the top of the market. And we've still got another 6, maybe 7 times the price to go yet. So there's plenty of room to grow for Bitcoin and for the other assets that are following it, like Ethereum and the altcoins. This is the stock to flow model, which I've shown you in the past in a different format, but this is the one that's been very, very accurate in the last 3 bull cycles. And as you can see, in each bull market, it tends to overshoot the baseline of the stock to flow chart. Here was the last bull market. This was the previous one. So you can see the peaks of them. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're on the 5th peak here. Now, the interesting thing here is that the model is predicting with this line around about the $100,000 mark for Bitcoin. But as we know from the previous bull cycles, it overshoots that by quite a bit. As we can see with this line here, the previous bull market was predicted at 5,000 and it went to 20,000. That was 4 times what it was predicting. And this one here, it was predicting around $164, but it went up to altogether to $1,134. But certainly, if the history is to repeat itself with the price going above the stock to flow model, we can expect the price to overshoot by well over the 100,000 mark. Maybe 2 times that would give you 200,000, and 3 times that would give you 300,000. So we're not too far off from our target of about $300,000. If you found this interesting, then please hit the like button and subscribe if you're new. A quick look at Ethereum, and as you can see quite clearly, we've gone out of this original channel, the pre-parabolic phase, and we've certainly entered into this parabolic phase. So we're only a few months away, and the price is progressing quite nicely. It's gone to 1912, so it's broken its previous all-time high now again. So this is a very good trajectory of where we're going. The target, as you know, is 21,450. So if you've got Ethereum like I have, then you're making quite good hefty profits currently, and with a lot more to come towards our target of 21,450. So there's nothing more to be said, except if you're a holder like me, there's really nothing to be worried about. Yes, when the Bitcoin correction comes, Ethereum will obviously correct in sympathy with Bitcoin. That's to be expected, but there's nothing to worry about. There's plenty of room to grow before everything tops out in 5, 6, 7 months' time. And now for today's tip, I'm looking at Zcash. I don't know if you've ever come across Zcash. It is one from the previous bull market when this was in the top 10, top 20 coins. And what I liked about this was that this is showing a very similar chart pattern to NEO, which was the last tip I gave you. As you can see quite clearly, we've got the cup, a handle, and the price moving back to retest its neckline here. And guess what? Just in this last week, look what the price has done. It's broken through, had a minor correction over here with that candle, and we're about to take off up in this direction here, just like with NEO. So you're going to get this. So you're going to be catching Zcash right at the point of breakout here with a huge amount of upside. So what is the upside potential here? If you look at the charts, the targets are very simple to actually aim for. Once we had the breakout here, the next target would be the previous resistance points, as you can see here. Resistance here, support here, resistance there, resistance there, resistance there. So you know that this is a very strong and significant line and price that is going to respect as it gets up to here. So you can expect a correction around here. Then the next target would be the top of the previous bull market, which was here at the 767 mark. So you can expect a little minor correction or a major correction here. But where it's ultimately going to go to is this point here, back in October 2016. So more than likely it's going to go all the way up here. As long as Bitcoin's still going when the price for Zcash is going up, Bitcoin is the driver, remember, and they all follow Bitcoin. If Bitcoin's crashed before this point, then this will crash with it. So please be aware of that. That's why I can't give you financial advice. You have to make your own decisions. Please do your wider research on this coin and any other coins that we mention before you make any investment decisions. I'm just telling you what my thoughts and my opinions are on the various charts. So the next target after that will be the $2,500 mark. But my ultimate target is $8,000. Why do I say $8,000? The price for that really comes from the comparison of the Zcash against the Bitcoin price chart. Let's have a look at that now. This is the Zcash Bitcoin chart, and as you can see, we've been in this downward trajectory. This is a bull flag for Zcash, and as soon as we break this line here at any point, more than likely we're going to go northwards from there, and the chances are that we may come up to the all-time high up here, which is at this level. If we take a measure from here, wherever it breaks, to that point, that tells us it should outperform Bitcoin by about 10 times here. So if we take that measure, it's going to outperform Bitcoin by 10 times. And if we compare that with Bitcoin and where we think Bitcoin is going to go, our target is obviously around the 300,000 mark, but obviously it could be between 250 to 300,000. So even if we take the lower figure of 250,000, that's 5 times the price of Bitcoin currently. So if Bitcoin is going to go up by 5 times and Zcash is going to outperform Bitcoin by 10 times, that's a 50x performance, and a 50x performance for Zcash from where it is now is going to take it to around this line here, which is at 8,330. So my target for Zcash, as long as Bitcoin is still on its bull run and doesn't crash before this period, this is where this is going, Zcash, from where it is today to 50 times. Finally, I want everyone here at Wisdom Bites to listen to this incredible interview with this gentleman here. His name is Michael Saylor, and he's the CEO and founder of MicroStrategy. You may have heard of them. They recently purchased about $450 million worth of Bitcoin initially, and then he added his own money of about another $200 or $250 million, and then he actually raised another $400 million as part of his company's strategy to hold Bitcoin in their treasury. So this is the insight of a very wealthy individual, as well as the thinking of institutions, of what they will be thinking as they're coming into Bitcoin. This will really open up your eyes as to what can happen to Bitcoin very, very shortly in the next few months. Take a listen to this.
MicroStrategy's average purchase price was a little less than 16,000. And right now, the price is about 33,000. So you've more than doubled your investment. And most likely by the end of the year, we're probably going to be in some kind of bubble, I imagine. So the return will be even higher. And you've said that you didn't buy the Bitcoin to sell it. But would MicroStrategy ever take some off the table when you sense the market is at a top and then just buy in later when there's another correction? Or do you just plan to hodl through all the cycles, and weather those, whatever 80% downturns when the crypto markets are in a bear market?
Yeah, again, I just disagree with your characterization. I don't expect an 80% downturn. I don't think it's a speculative asset, and I don't think you can quote unquote take money off the table. You're speaking like a crypto trader right now, right? Yeah, I mean, maybe you're doing it just to represent their interest, but I don't see the world that way. I think that Bitcoin is sound money. It's the technically superior asset class compared to the dollar, the euro, the peso, the bolivar, compared to a stock index, compared to gold, compared to silver, compared to everything you can conceivably buy. It is technically, thermodynamically superior as an asset. So when you say things like that to me, and maybe you just do it just to see what I'll say back, I just imagine you preaching to me in Argentina while you're asking me if I'm going to sell the dollars and buy pesos back again as the peso sleeps from 20 to the dollar to 40 to the dollar to 80 to the dollar. Or if we're in, Venezuela. I mean, you think a Venezuelan company is going to quote unquote take some money off the table by selling their U.S. stocks and their U.S. dollars to buy back into local currencies? Or then, in Zimbabwe, you think they would take money off the table, right? The point is, if you have the superior asset, it's going up forever, Laura. Forever.
Right. I mean, right. But I mean, we can all look Bitcoin sort of as numerous investors have talked about it, kind of breathes, after a halving. The next year and a half after, it tends to go up, and then after it reaches some kind of bubble, it kind of sighs a little bit, and then then after the next halving, we see it go up. But so it's this kind of up and down cycle, but the overall trajectory is up. So, and it's not, these are on Twitter, people were asking me to ask you this as well. I think it's a perfectly natural question to ask.
I think. I don't think Bitcoin is volatile if you're an investor. If you're a hodler, if your time horizon is 1 year, or if it's 1 year, you're a short-term investor. You can find 2 or 3 times in the last decade when it wasn't great, but it wasn't awful. If your time horizon is 4 years, you can't find a time when it wasn't working. So I think, just a normal, ordinary, responsible investor with a 4-year time horizon will look at it and say, this is very boring. But this is an engineering issue for me. The year is 1910. People are wiring their houses with electricity. And you're asking me at what point I'm going to turn my electricity off. Or you're telling me how eventually people are going to get tired of electricity. And then you're telling me that, wouldn't I really want to convert back to horse and buggy and manual labor to take some off the table because electricity is a scary, speculative thing? And I'm like, no, it's running water, it's electricity, it's automobiles. It's not a fad, it's the future. It's not a bubble, it's capital flow. When all the money is leaving the peso going to the dollar, that's not a bubble in the dollar. That's capital flight from a collapsing asset or a collapsing currency that people have lost confidence in. Mm-hmm. Just like the stampede to the internet. Would you ask a company, when are you going to stop using the internet? Are you going to stop using it in a quarter because you've used too much electricity and internet? So at the end of the day, none of this statistics matters. None of the trading matters. None of the volatility matters. These, people that are living in their little world, studying their Fibonacci retracements and preaching with incredible conviction about the upcoming expected 60% retracement or 80% retracement, they're overlooking this fundamental issue, which is if Bitcoin is a digital monetary network And if enough people with money and power decide to adopt it, it's going to go up and increase by a factor of 100 or 1,000,
Yeah.
and there's nothing you can do to stop it. And its past is completely irrelevant.
Indeed, powerful words from a very powerful institutional leader. Some of the takeaways from that interview were that he and the institutions regard Bitcoin as a technically superior asset to every other asset, and that he's not expecting 80% corrections, and that he's got at least a 4-year timeline. So if people think that institutions are going to dump the Bitcoin at the top of the market, well, he's saying basically they have no intention of doing that. So will that prop up the market and prevent that 80% correction? Only time will tell. He's also saying that this is not a fad, it's the future. And that none of the volatility in the market matters to him or even the other institutions. And finally, the biggest takeaway was when he said that if enough people with money and power decide to adopt Bitcoin, then Bitcoin will increase by a factor of 100 or even 1,000 times. And there's nothing anybody can do about that. Well, here at Wisdom Bites, as you know, we're here for the long term. We're not just here just to take a little bit of the money and then basically get out of the market. My prediction for the next 10 years is that Bitcoin is going to be anywhere between $1 and $5 million. So if you get in even now here, it's a fantastic asset to buy and hold for the very long term. Okay, so we'll wrap it up there. Thank you once again for watching. If you've enjoyed the content, then please do remember to like and subscribe if you're new, and to turn on the notification bell. If you want to leave any comments, questions or suggestions, please leave them in the comments below. Until the next time, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.